This is our archive project relating women's roles in their education in the late 1800s to what we have learned in class. Throughout the semester, we have read many texts that involve both men and women and what their roles are in life. We have learned how they are different because of their genders. One of the many themes we have discussed and seen throughout these texts is how usually it is the man who is in power and has a lot of control over the women that they are around. Something we have also looked at and questioned is what really is a woman's role in a man's life, and how can this be seen in a positive light? In the archives, we were able to find a lot of evidence showing this idea of a woman as a positive influence and a very useful outlet in a man's life. We also found evidence of men supporting women and colored people's educations. In these letters from the archive collection, a soldier is writing the woman he loves, Maria, who is currently back home and away from him. In these letters, the soldier Aaron Shimmer Oberly really vents and expresses all of his emotions and frustrations to Maria. He tells her how excited he was to receive her letter and be able to talk to her. He also tells her a small bit about what is going on in his life, but not too much because he does not want to worry her. The act of not going into great detail really shows that he values and respects her. He updates her on his whereabouts and warns her that he may not be able to always write because of the work and situation he is in. So he does not worry her from his absence. Really though, he is just using Maria as an outlet, something to keep his mind sane and distract from what is really going on in his life. Maria's role as a woman in this situation is to help him get through the war and remind him that there is life and love outside of his stressful situation. This statement helps lead into the idea of what a woman's role during the war was and what a woman's role in a man's life generally was in the 1800s, a support system. Even though they were not allowed to fight, women did come in handy during war. The whole idea of a woman's role in a man's life relates back to a few texts we have read so far this semester. Aaron Shimmer Oberly also writes to Maria about education, specifically in Document 4, where he is writing of sending her lectures and essays on mineralogy. He also notes that Maria has an education in surgical areas. This document supports the notion that Maria and Oberly are similar to Sarah Joseph Hale. In the passage, books are the mentors of the heart, he supports the idea of educating women. This also goes hand in hand with the gallery of women domesticity and publication. In the quote, "Now to me it is perfectly clear that whoever it is morally right for a man to do, it is morally right for a woman to do." This showcases that Oberly was supportive of women's equal rights. In the third document, he apologized for the messiness of his writing and the lack of timeliness, but in his defense, he was in the middle of the Civil War. However, that still does not stop him from sending her books to read. Again, this gives way to his support of education and that Maria herself wants to read, learn more, and is supported by Oberly. Having the support of education by a man that you are not married to during this time is fairly uncommon. Elizabeth Cady Stanton fought for equal rights for women in her Declaration of Sentiments. That was a feminist manifesto model of the U.S. Declaration of Independence, which is all about traditional views of men and women and how it should be changed. This change can be seen with Oberly's open support for Maria's growing knowledge, not only through verbal support, but by sending her books and lectures to read. Oberly states in Document 2 that Maria writes to him about a colored man lecturing. The tone of his letter gives us the impression that both Maria and himself seemingly support the education of not just men and women, but of those colored too, at least colored men. This ties in with Frederick Douglass on his own education ideas, that all colored men and women should have a right to education. The idea of a colored man giving a lecture is what can be tied in with Douglass's own narrative, which is what to a slave is the 4th of July. Document 1 shows the calmliness that Maria gives to Aaron, just like that of Rowlandson's keeping it calm and collected during her narrative. Aaron states that he felt gratitude to hear from her, which just goes to show how much he valued Maria's letter and her. In Rowlandson's narrative, we read about how Rowlandson juxtaposes her role as a woman with that of her mistress. In this passage, she discusses both her role and her mistress's role in a man's life. She juxtaposes her role as a woman with that of her mistress by portraying herself as more calm and collected and laid back regarding her actions, while her mistress is more forward and active in getting what she wants and making sure her voice is loud and clear. A prime example of this is when it is stated in the 12th remove, when the mistress, in quotes, gave out she could go no further, but turned back again, and said, I must go back again with her. My spirit was upon this, I confess, very impatient and almost outrageous. This statement shows how the mistress wants her role to be one that is seen, and it shows that Rowlandson's more laid back and passive role is present. This is just one of the many ways and ideas about what a woman's role in a man's life and how they really do play a very important role. Here are 5 questions to think about. Based on the text we have read this semester, was it unusual for a man to support a woman's education during the time of the Civil War? Can you think of any other texts we have read this year where a woman has been used as an escape or an outlet for a man? How was she used? What were some similarities between what Maria and Frederick Douglass were attempting to accomplish? How and why were there challenges in accomplishing their goals? Do you think other men we have read about, such as Occam, who were in similar situations as Aaron Oberle, used a woman like Anne Maria as an escape from their current situation? Aaron sent Maria a book about nature. Similar to Emerson, and based on what you know about Maria, do you think she used nature as a place to find wisdom?